Going to do an edit on this photo of Nobbys Beach. There's quite a bit of stuff that needs to happen here. I've just opened this as a smart object into Photoshop. I've enabled the profile corrections and removed the chromatic aberration. There's still a little bit there, but there's quite a bit of work to do in this photo. I want to bring detail back in the sky. It's quite warped, so straightening it up, removing a few blemishes. We've got a rubbish bin there. We've got some people blurred. I'll probably remove this light pole. Possibly move that guy. He actually doesn't bother me that much, so we'll just see. So what I'm going to do here to get the most detail out of this raw file, I'm actually going to double process it. So by double clicking on the wording here, a new smart object via copy, and what that does is I can open this top one by double clicking on it as a smart object, and any changes I do are going to be different from the other layer. If that wasn't via copy and I just duplicated the layer, the smart object would have the same changes over both of the layers. So I'm going to have a layer for the sky and then a layer for the pretty much everything else. So this might as well be my sky one. I'm going to darken it down a bit. Just have a little play, probably bring down the highlights, maybe pump the whites a bit for a bit of contrast. Cool it down a little bit. I might just make that top a little cooler. Probably add a bit of magenta up there as well to make those clouds pop. It's probably a little too much over there, but we can work with that later. Maybe a little vibrance and a little bit of clarity just to really get that sky popping. As you can see, it was quite a intense sunrise the morning of this, so I still want that to be the case in this this image. So now I can work on that original raw file just by double clicking on that. I'm not going to do a lot to this, to be honest with you. Probably open the shadows a little bit and warm everything up. Lower the blacks a bit for a tiny bit of contrast, and a little bit of clarity. And I think that's about it for that. So now I'll just blend the two images together, the sky and the sky and the base image. So how I'll do that, I'll option click the layer mask button and I'll get a black layer mask, and I'm just really easily and quickly going to select the brighter images with the quick selection tool. This does a good enough job for now. I'll show you how to zone in and really detail this out if it needs it. Selecting that nice. It's doing it, you know, quite a good job really. So bring my brush tool up 100%, paint with white, and by option clicking that, you can see I'll deselect that. That's pretty much what the mask looks like. And there's the sky that's brought in. So I do have a few small issues in the corners and around the, probably around everywhere that's been selected. So what I can do, just with a super small brush, go around and just fix these little pieces up. Brush it about 50%. Don't have to be too, you can be as accurate as you want here. I'm just doing it really quickly for this video. You can see there's been quite a, go back to white and paint that out. Well, that's okay. I feather my blends usually anyway, so you'll see that in a second. A few of these bits look a bit funky, and here's quite, I'll probably go up to 80% for this because I've got some larger areas. Just paint that. That in. So there's a couple of things I can do to help this blend a bit better. I can lower the opacity of this first layer, and this tree's just a bit funny. I'll just go right over all that. And for now, there's a bit up here. This is probably good enough, or all I'm gonna really concentrate on for the present. So by just lowering the opacity a bit, say to 80 odd percent, that just makes it blend a bit nicer. But what I do with my blends as well, so I'll get a brush, you know, at a decent size. Let's just call it 30% white. Actually, I'll go black. I'll just go over that area there. If I option click that, you'll be able to see there's a little bit of grey there, and I feel that that really helps the blend sort of blend into itself. Also gives it a little bit of I might probably did one too far there. Makes it look a bit more real, because obviously the sky at the top here is going to be darker than the sky down the bottom here, so you want to create an effect, you know, not only that you're blending a sky, and you still want it to be able to fit into the scene, where brightness to darkest. So if I was just to toggle that on and off really quickly, I'm happy with that. I've just noticed this corner up here's doing some pretty funky little things, so I'll get my brush back nice and small, and I'll paint on that at 100% with white, and I'll just get it in there. If you want, you can touch up the little things like that. Okay, so what I'll do now, that's a really quick sky blend. I'm going to straighten it out. It's looking a bit warped and funny, so I'm just going to go filter adaptive wide angle, let that load up. There's 3 presets in this filter. There's auto, fisheye. Fisheye is a little bit straighter, and perspective. Auto, I'll just leave it on. And what you can do here is go through and highlight areas that you want to be horizontal or vertical. So I'm looking at this little section here as I'm selecting parts to get it as close as I can, drawing lines across, and if you double click on the outside of it, you can obviously go horizontal, and it starts to straighten bits of the image up. A photo like this is, you know, going to require quite a bit of leveling, you could say. So you can even go from spots like that to that, and I want that to be horizontal. For vertical, I would obviously do my poles. And it's going to do its best job to get them in line. So I'm just looking for areas that are in need of being vertical. Obviously the horizon, big one. Don't forget to do that. It'll be horizontal. These poles here are all pretty good. You can probably go across the three of these decorative pieces in the pillars, whatever that sort of stuff's called. Horizontal there. I don't think this beam would select really well. It's probably got a bit too much shadow in it. Yeah, you can see it's warping either side of it. I might pull it again and try and run it. No, I'm not having a good. I just Apple or Command Z to get out of that. That wasn't selecting that well. The side of this is still looking a little warped to me, so I'll straighten those up. And if you'll notice, I'm doing the opposite of every pole I do, so it brings it all hopefully together nicely. I might do these couple of pillars again, make that horizontal. I really don't like that what that did, so I'll get that out. And that's it's looking a lot better. I just don't know what else I could do. Maybe from there to there, horizontal. Yeah, that's pretty good. The image I have, the problem I have this photo, I should say, is it's vertical, but it still looks like it's slanting to me. So from memory, I actually like that. I think that's straightened it out a little bit. So to me, nothing's looking too warped. Everything's looking pretty straight. You could probably go and do these pillars here. I feel that they're all pretty good anyway. I might just do the other side. So I stick to what I say, that I do the same on each. So we'll load that back in Photoshop. But to me, it's still looking like the whole image is slanting to the left a little bit. So that's without the, I suppose, warping, and that's with the warping. If I was to zoom that in a tad, you can see that that's straight. You can see that my horizon's straight, but the whole photo just looks like it's a little bit lopsided. So I'll Command T, I'll free transform that, and I'm just going to distort it to the right a little bit and try and keep all of those points still pretty good. I'm not too worried that they're not exact, but it's just the way the landscape falls, I think, still made it look a little bit lopsided. So there's my before and there's my after. I'll just go up here to view and clear canvas guides, and that will get rid of all of those little things. So to me, that's a lot more, I suppose, symmetrical. If I was to crop that, I'm looking at, I'd still probably want to center the crop a little bit more, and I'm pretty happy with that overall. Right, so now I'm going to want to get rid of the things I don't want in the photo, which, as I said before, is this lampshade. It might actually propose a little bit of a tricky removal. I'll just create a new layer, J, to get the removal tool. I'm not expecting this to, yeah, I'll have to probably think of something else to do to get rid of that, but it's always achievable. That's done quite a nice job on the pole. I'll just keep getting rid of the pole. That's good. Get rid of a few bits of blemishes there, something there, person there, flag there can go. This tool's great, it's my first resort, and then I'll come through and do a number of different options depending on what's needed once this doesn't work. But I start here and go to different options as I need them. I might even get rid of that because it's not really adding to the scene. Yeah, that looks pretty good. What else have I got? Any weird bits of rubbish, or it's a bit annoying, chewing gum, just scanning through. I don't mind that guy because he's there looking at the sun rises as I was taking photos of it, so sort of to me shows someone appreciating what's going on, and I don't mind having that in the image at all. Now I've just really got this bit of a light bulb to deal with, but that won't be an issue. Yeah, I think that's everything. So what I'll do, I'll probably just do it on this layer. Create a selection of that area. As best as I can. So Command C, Command V, I've just pasted that on its own area, and then on its own layer I've just Command clicked it to highlight it, Command T to select it, and I'm just going to drag it over. I'll undo all that. Actually, I need to be on top of that layer. I'll have to start that again because of the spot removal. Alright, so I'll deselect that. I will have to create a stamped layer, reselect my selection, copy it, paste it up there, and select it, drag it over a little bit, confirm that selection, black layer mask, select, reselect even active, so I'll make that selection again. Cheap and nasty, it's always the best way. Bring a brush up, back to the layer mask. So we're going to paint with white at 100%, so that'll be a couple of clicks on that, and it's just left with me with a little bit of funkiness from this archway, so I'll just pop over to black and get rid of that. I'm just not liking that little bit of the mask left, so if I deselect everything, bring my brush nice and small, go back to white, and I should just be able to get rid of that. So there's still a bit of work that has to happen there. I'll bring my stamp tool up. And that should blend that out. Stamp visible again. There we go, so back to 100%. Won't even notice that that's even been there. So if I was to group group those layers, turn them on and off. That's the pole and everything else removed. Even having a look now, I'd probably like to add a little more contrast to the sky. Not that much, didn't unclick, so probably something like that. Just brighten it up a tad, and just option drag that mask I had before that's been warped, so that's not going to work. So what I can do is invert the mask and just paint in with probably a luminosity style selection, image, apply image, image. Alright, so that's that. I've applied the image to that mask, and I might just do some alterations to that with a black brush. So again, a little bit of spillover isn't the worst thing ever for something like that. I can bring the levels up again and brighten the highlights up, and possibly just paint out the bits in the roof and etc. that I really don't want. Change my brush mode to overlay, and with a white brush, an overlay brush, anything that's 50% grey to either side of black or white, it'll paint that colour in, so it's a pretty good way to make some detail. Selections, turn that black again. It's just backwards and forwards with this brush, but you'll get a good result with it nearly every time. So paint that and lighten that. Turn my brush back to normal. I'm going to do my little blending trick by, let's say, I brush it 30% white. I'm just going to go over that, and that's going to help that blend smoothly, and I should be able to turn that on, and that's given that cloud a little bit of contrast and pop, which I was after. So from here, I would probably, I didn't get rid of the little people there, so again, let's create a blank layer. J to bring up the Band-Aid tool. I'll just get rid of them bit by bit. That's a bit repetitive there, and then a couple more swipes, that should do it, and you wouldn't even notice. So what I might do now is I'll just check some levels. It's skewed to the right, which is good because it still looks to me like it's sloping to the left a little bit, but that's just what it is, I guess. I might soften the image up quickly with an Orton effect, so I'll stamp that layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Let's call it 30 pixels. I'll lower this down to 10, 13%, whatever my computer will let me select. That's just softened everything in it. So on top of that, image adjustment levels, and I'll crank that up and bring a bit of color into it, for the interest of just selecting the brighter areas to have that sort of little bit of glow. I'll create a layer mask, turn that on, go to my channels and select something that's, I'll probably go this red channel, command click in the red channel. I'll delete that layer mask, because then once I put one on, I can bring that up and it's going to just add that auto effect to the brighter areas of the image. Apart from that, I might look at a little bit of dodging and burning. I've got an action set up which is just the 50% grey soft light layer. Select a nice orange colour, a wee bit too yellow.